And what's up, everybody? I'm back with another movie review. Today I'm reviewing Cold Mountain, released in 2003. It's a Civil War period movie from the perspective of the South. We'll get to my thoughts on that in a little bit. But yeah, this has a pretty decent cast. Nothing too crazy as far as like big names on the cast. And this is another one of the DVDs, so I thought, well, I'll check it out. Not got a lot of thoughts on it, so let's just jump right into it, shall we? First off, I want to know how that many people survived that explosion at the beginning. I know it was the 1800s and the explosives weren't that good back then. However, you cannot tell me that they placed all of those explosives underneath their enemy territory and that many people survived. I don't know. One line that I thought was crazy, also said early on in the movie, was, "I'm wetter than a fish." Okay. Weird analogy to make, but okay. Also, how do you bruise your ribs thinking about something? Is it just like you're doing this too much? And you like go like that. I just broke my ribs. Because my arm was so strong because it's the 1813. Is that what it is? I don't know. Nothing against the female lead actor or the actress in this movie. I don't even know what the fuck her name is. Let me get her name real quick. Nicole Kidman plays Ada Monroe. She does a pretty good job in this movie. I will admit, I thought she got more screen time than I thought she was gonna get in this movie. She makes a lot of creepy movements. There's a lot of times where, like, her face is positioned in a weird spot, the camera's oriented in a weird place, she makes weird jarring movements. Eventually, as she becomes more of the protagonist of the movie instead of a secondary flashback character, she starts to feel more natural as far as her movements and whatnot. But especially early on, those movements kind of creep me out a little bit. I cannot lie. I don't know if that's because of the way they wrote her or that's just because how she is, but that was kind of my thoughts on that. This is also a very, very grotesque movie. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of boobies. And a lot of mud, a lot of dirt, a lot of death. I think it's a very good depiction, though, of not just Civil War times, but living in that time period in general, especially in a more rural place. It's a very small town. I guess most places were smaller back then, unless you're in like New York City or something. But I think it's a very good depiction on kind of the hard-nosed living of the time. I was kind of like looking that up to see how accurate they were with the time, and from what all I could see, they did do a pretty good job of making it accurate, so that's good. But man, rough times living back then. I sure shit would not want to live in Civil War or even just the 1800s in general. Now, everything's fine and all. I think the acting is fine. The pacing is not great just because this movie is 2.5 hours long. It's so slow paced, and I can't say like that's bad. Like, I think they fit a good amount of stuff in there. There's a lot of characters that they go through, as far as ones that feel like they're going to be main characters and then are killed off, ones you don't think are going to be main characters and then they end up becoming main characters. There's a lot of different enemies, plot lines that we go through. It takes a really long time to connect some of them back up, though, especially at the end. Oh my god, this movie is so slow, and 2.5 hours for everything that they fit in here does kind of feel justified, but in my opinion, for the sake of the viewer, that is too long. I think the only people that would see that as a good thing are historians that love history, especially about the Civil War or just wars in general, would probably be the only ones that would disagree with me on that front. Not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing, and I think it would have been pretty hard to fit everything in and still condense it down to a more respectable length. I think this movie would have worked better as about a 2-hour film, or maybe a little under 2 hours. But 2.5 hours, really, like I said, for any movie, pretty much, just is too long. Too long. It also doesn't really help the image of the movie. Like, I get it. It's 2003, so I know they aren't, like, outright supporting the Confederacy anymore. They aren't, like, supporting slavery anymore and whatnot. I know that's not what they're intending with this movie. But because it's set on the Confederacy side of the Civil War, and the people that we see fighting, the people that we are supposed to be rooting for are fighting for the Confederacy, and the enemies are for the North, whatever they call them. They're called the Yankees, but they're probably something else. I don't remember exactly what the North was called. But the fact that, like, there's that underlying tone of, you know, the Confederacy's big thing was they wanted slavery. And they wanted to keep things very racist and, you know, all that sort of stuff. It really does affect kind of the underlying tone of this movie. Because we're supposed to root for them. And I just can't. I know the main character realizes how bad it is. I guess the main characters in general realize how bad this is. But still, it's kind of just like setting it up as that's where they start. Still does not sit well with me personally. I know it's supposed to be sort of based off of a true story, but I think it would have worked better to eliminate that underlying tone if it was told from a different perspective, from the North's perspective. Just saying. I don't know. I don't know how well that would have worked, but that's just kind of my thoughts on that. So, anyways, this is still a decent movie. I don't know. I'm not a huge Civil War fan, but I still found some enjoyment with the movie. I guess my final score for Cold Mountain, I'm probably going to have to give it a good 5 out of 10. I didn't really enjoy it. I'm not really looking forward to a rewatch. But you know what? I saw it. It was interesting. And, you know, I don't really regret watching it. Just probably never watch it again. So, but anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this movie review. If you've ever seen Cold Mountain, I'd love to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And that's going to do it for this video as well. So stay tuned for much more amazing content, including more movie reviews and other awesome stuff. And until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.